Imagine, for a moment, that your computer is a vast, bustling metropolis. The streets are alive with data, flowing like rivers of light toward a central citadel. This citadel is the processor, the brain that governs every action and every thought of the machine. It is not a single entity, but a collection of specialized components working in perfect, albeit frantic, harmony. To understand the machine, we must understand its internal architecture, the very blueprint of its existence. We must look closely at the cores, the threads, and the silent rhythm that keeps the heart beating. The cores are the individual minds residing inside your central processing unit. Think of them as the master chefs in a high-pressure kitchen, each capable of preparing a complex dish from start to finish. In the early days of computing, we relied on a single mind, one core that had to handle everything alone. If you wanted to listen to music while typing a document, that single mind had to switch back and forth with incredible speed. Today, we stack these minds together, allowing your system to juggle multiple jobs without ever breaking a sweat. When you are gaming in one window, streaming a high-definition video in another, and keeping dozens of browser tabs open, you are witnessing the power of parallel processing. More cores mean more parallel power, much like adding more generals to a battlefield to oversee different fronts of the war. However, this power is only as effective as the coordination behind it. If the tasks are not distributed correctly, the extra cores sit idle, waiting for instructions that may never come. It is a lesson in balance, showing us that raw strength is nothing without the wisdom to direct it. Consider the year 2005, when the world first saw the transition to dual-core processors for the average consumer. It was a paradigm shift that changed how we interacted with technology forever. We moved from a linear way of thinking to a multi-dimensional one. Now, in the year 2025, we see chips with 16, 32, or even 64 cores. These are not just components. They are a testament to our desire to transcend the limitations of a single perspective. Threads are like giving each core an extra set of hands, a clever trick of digital sleight of hand. Through technologies like Intel's hyper-threading and AMD's simultaneous multi-threading, a single core can rapidly switch between tasks. This creates the illusion of true multitasking, making the processor appear more capable than it physically is. It is not exactly double the power, but it smooths out the rough edges of heavy workloads. When dozens of smaller background tasks are competing for attention, these extra hands ensure that nothing is dropped. Think of a waiter in a busy restaurant who can carry 2 trays at once instead of 1. They are still only one person, and they can only walk so fast, but they are twice as efficient in their movements. This efficiency is crucial in the modern era, where our operating systems are constantly running hundreds of invisible processes. Without threads, the main task you are focused on might stutter as the CPU pauses to check for a software update or a new email. Threads provide the fluidity that makes the digital world feel natural and responsive. In the history of computing, specifically around the year 2002, this technology began to bridge the gap between hardware and software. It allowed programmers to write code that could handle multiple streams of data simultaneously. Today, we see this in every aspect of our lives, from the way our phones handle social media notifications to the way professional workstations render complex 3D animations. It is a reminder that sometimes the perception of speed is just as important as speed itself. Clock speed is the tempo of your processor, the relentless heartbeat measured in gigahertz. It defines exactly how many cycles the CPU can execute every single second. A higher clock speed means the processor can think faster, completing instructions with a sense of urgency. However, this speed comes at a physical cost, as faster frequencies inevitably generate more heat. It is a dance between performance and physics, where pushing too hard can lead to a literal meltdown. Modern processors are not static. They are constantly adjusting their frequency based on the demands of the moment. They speed up under intense pressure, like a sprinter approaching the finish line, and slow down to conserve energy when the work is light. This balance keeps the system efficient, ensuring that power is not wasted when it is not needed. It is a philosophy of conservation, a silent understanding that true power is knowing when to strike and when to rest. In the late 1990s, the race for the highest clock speed was the primary focus of every major manufacturer. We saw the rise of the 1 GHz barrier, a milestone that felt like breaking the sound barrier for the digital age. But we eventually learned that speed isn't everything if the architecture behind it is inefficient. Today, we focus on IPC, or instructions per clock, recognizing that a slower, smarter mind is often better than a fast, chaotic one. TDP, or thermal design power, represents the heat a processor is expected to produce, measured in watts. It is the physical manifestation of the energy being consumed and the work being performed. Lower TDP chips run cooler and are found in thin laptops and mobile devices that require long battery life. Higher TDP models are the heavy lifters, found in desktop towers and servers that demand serious thermal solutions to stay operational. When you choose a cooler or a power supply, you are essentially deciding how much fire you are willing to manage. This number is a critical guide for anyone building or buying a computer, because more performance usually translates to more heat output. If you ignore the TDP, your system will eventually throttle itself, slowing down to prevent permanent damage. It is a lesson in the laws of thermodynamics, reminding us that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. In the world of silicon, that reaction is heat, a silent enemy that must be tamed with fans, fins, and liquid cooling. Historically, we have seen TDPs fluctuate as manufacturing processes become more refined. In the year 2010, a high-end processor might have pushed the limits of what a standard air cooler could handle. Today, we use advanced materials and precision engineering to keep even the most powerful chips within reasonable thermal limits. It is a constant battle against entropy, a struggle to keep the fire of computation burning without consuming the very machine that houses it. Cache size is the CPU's ultra-fast internal memory, acting as a small, elite library for the most frequently used data. It is organized into tiers, known as L1, L2, and L3, where each level increases in size but becomes slightly slower. The L1 cache is the most immediate, sitting right next to the core's logic gates, while the L3 cache is shared among all the cores. This hierarchy ensures that the processor doesn't have to wait for the much slower system memory, or RAM, to deliver the information it needs. Imagine you are writing a book at a desk. The L1 cache is the pen in your hand. The L2 cache is the notebook on the table, and the L3 cache is the bookshelf behind you. If you have to leave the room to go to a public library, the system RAM your progress slows down significantly. A larger and more efficient cache reduces these trips, helping maintain a level of responsiveness that feels instantaneous. It is about minimizing latency, the invisible delay that separates an action from its result. In recent years, we have seen a massive increase in cache sizes, particularly with technologies like 3D V-cache introduced around the year 2022. This innovation allowed manufacturers to stack memory vertically, providing massive amounts of data storage right on the processor die. This has had a profound impact on gaming and complex simulations, where data needs to be accessed with zero hesitation. It proves that sometimes the best way to speed up a mind is to give it a better memory. Architecture is the foundational design philosophy that dictates how a processor actually functions. It determines how instructions are processed, how data flows through the circuits, and how efficiently power is consumed. Companies like Intel, AMD, and Apple each develop distinct architectures that evolve over years of research and development. These innovations are the true drivers of performance gains, moving beyond raw speed into the realm of smarter, more efficient design. When we talk about architecture, we are talking about the very logic of the machine. It is the difference between an engine designed for a race car and one designed for a heavy-duty truck. One might favor high-speed bursts, while the other excels at sustained, heavy labor. These designs shape the world we live in, influencing everything from the battery life of our phones to the capabilities of the supercomputers predicting our weather. It is the ultimate expression of human ingenuity in the digital age. Think back to the year 2020, when the world witnessed a major shift in architecture with the introduction of Apple's custom silicon. It challenged the long-standing dominance of traditional designs by proving that efficiency and power could coexist in a way we hadn't seen before. This evolution reminds us that we are never truly finished with our designs. There is always a more elegant way to solve a problem, a more efficient path for the electrons to follow. As we look at these components, the cores, the threads, the clock speeds, and the architecture, we see a reflection of ourselves. We are systems of layers, constantly balancing our need for speed with our limited resources. We strive for efficiency, yet we are often bogged down by the heat of our own ambitions. The CPU is a mirror, showing us that progress is not just about doing things faster, but about doing them smarter. It is about the harmony of the parts working toward a singular goal. In our daily lives, we can apply these lessons of silicon to our own productivity. Just as a processor needs a clear architecture to function, we need a clear purpose to guide our actions. We must learn to manage our TDP, recognizing when we are overheating and need to slow down to maintain our long-term health. We should prioritize our cache, keeping the most important information close to our minds and letting go of the clutter that slows us down. Balance is not a luxury. It is a requirement for any system that wishes to endure. My advice to you is to seek that balance in everything you do. Do not just aim for the highest clock speed in your career or your personal life, for you may find yourself burning out before the task is finished. Instead, focus on the quality of your architecture, the foundation upon which you build your days. Be mindful of your cores, the core values and strengths that allow you to handle the many tasks of life with grace. When you find that rhythm, everything else falls into place. What part of your own life do you feel needs a better architecture to run more smoothly? Do you find yourself focusing too much on speed and not enough on the efficiency of your internal processes? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, as your insights often spark the best conversations. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive into the technology that shapes our world.